you're thinking about buying or selling in San Mateo County, what happened over the last couple months might surprise you. Even though the market's been kind of volatile from a macro perspective, the real estate market here in San Mateo County has actually been pretty resilient. So I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about pricing, inventory, and what that means for you over the last couple months and then moving forward for the back half of 2025. So when you read the news right now, there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
America's housing crisis is showing no signs of easing.
However, I had someone tell me a couple weeks ago, is what's happening in the Middle East affecting what's going on in the Bay Area real estate market? The answer is no, because we are not that area. It's just like, is what's happening in Europe affecting the real estate market in Beverly Hills? No. People want to buy in these areas and they're fantastic. I've had 3 listings recently that had amazing outcomes that were record numbers for where they were. Yes, we did price them attractively. Yes, we had a bunch of offers on them and we're very grateful for that. But I think if you're a seller, the key right now is price your home attractively. And if you're a buyer, definitely be patient, and if and when you see the right property, move very quickly. But the market has not crashed. I mean, we are seeing a little bit of a cooling off from some of the spring heat, but the stock market has continued to do really well. Even with the bill that just passed in the last couple weeks, the stock market has done really well. So caveat, we typically can expect to see like a 3 to 6 week lag between what happens in the financial markets and any impact in real estate, but I feel overall very optimistic. I was just reading an article that appeared in the San Mateo Daily Journal this morning that actually my dad sent me. And it said that businesses are feeling really confident right now to keep building in San Mateo County. So if you're like, Raziel, give me the short version, what's going to happen with the real estate market over the next few years? I'm feeling pretty cautiously optimistic and bullish, especially because of this article. So it's saying that we're the second wealthiest county in the state of California, not shocking, but was surprising to me, I just didn't know this, was that over the last year, so in 2024, there was 3.3 million new square feet development that was completed in San Mateo County. And so over the next 5 years, there's going to be over 15 million square feet of new development. Of that, life sciences represents about 30% of the county's development pipeline, which is a meaningful bulk of the 56% of commercial development that we're expecting to happen, with 20% of the 15 million scheduled to be dedicated to housing. So that means that 3 million square feet of new housing is expected over the next 5 years, but that means there's also going to be 12 million square feet of office space, lab space, industrial, all of that. So if I take off my real estate hat and I'm like, geez, what do I think is going to happen in the next few years if there's suddenly 12 million square feet that's going to be used for some type of business? Like, where are all these people going to live? I mean, at the end of the day, we have challenges with finding enough teachers. Now, the school districts are doing a very good job, but ultimately, this is not just unique to San Mateo County, but it is the most expensive place to live in the Bay Area from a county perspective. So is it surprising if we keep packing in all this commercial real estate here? What does that do to the value of residential housing? It increases. It goes up because there's more jobs that are being created here than there is housing. So I do find that's interesting. I remember seeing a statistic a number of years ago that said over the last 5 years, there have been about 75,000 new jobs created in San Mateo County with less than 5,000 new housing units. The county and all the cities have done a fantastic job working towards creating new housing, but it's just hard in an area where we're not seeing skyscrapers and no new land that you can build on. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but 72% of San Mateo County is protected land, and almost all of that land is west of 280, and it's probably never going to be built on. So, which is fine, and it's beautiful and it's great green space, but the land is basically not accessible. So we have this really small area where people can live, and so I do think real estate's going to continue to do well from that perspective. Interestingly, last year we ended the real estate market at an all-time high, and that also means from a property tax perspective, there's $341 billion in assessed real estate, and the highest growth rate in cities was Millbrae at about 7.1%, Burlingame at 6.9%, Brisbane 6.82%, Atherton at 6.49%, and Woodside at 6.4%. If we take a look at some of the real estate numbers we saw, last year there were 1,712 total sales, which was up 3% from the year before, but median home prices were down 3% over that time period. Now, I think that's a little, I won't say misleading, but when we look at median home prices, we also want to look at median price per square foot, which is a really good metric. We also have to keep in mind that in 2023, that had the fewest number of sales at any point in the last 25 years. In 2024 was the second fewest number of sales. So we are having a lot more homes for sale now. We're up more than 30% this time period versus a year ago. But it's not like there's just a ton more available. If you ask any buyer, and if you're a buyer, you totally know this, that there's just not a lot for sale. It doesn't feel like that. I wish in my 20 years that I had even one client say, Raziel, there's 3 amazing homes that I could write an offer on now. You pick which one. I can't even figure it out. Like, I'm sure in Texas, maybe people say that because there's so much supply, perhaps, but just not here. Let's take a look at some hard data. So here's a 3-month rolling median home sales price data up until the last month. And we can basically see that it's declined about 3% over the last year, but this is pretty common. It's within the margin of error, and you can kind of see a little bit of ups and downs. Now, this data is super interesting. We can see that over the last 5 years, 3 and 4 bedroom homes, which are the yellow and green lines on here, they've seen much higher overall appreciation rates than 2 bedroom houses. That's the blue line, which is kind of range about 8 to 10%. So I think it's fair to say 3 or 4 bedroom home over the last 5 years, it's appreciated at more than double the rate as a 2-bedroom home. This is not totally shocking. If you're looking for some more appreciation data and you really want to nerd out on it, check out this appreciation video, which looks at appreciation rates between condos, townhomes, and single-family homes, city by city over a 4-year period, 10-year period, and 20-year period. That might be way too much, but check it out if you're interested. Basically, what we've seen since COVID is there's been so much wealth that's been created in the stock market, and especially with so many buyers here having down payments that are coming from RSUs or options or the companies where they work, that we're seeing a huge percentage of value that's being created on the high end for 3 and 4 bedroom homes. But if you buy a 2-bedroom home, that also gives you a lot more room to add on. So if you're curious, check out my ADU video where you can see homes in San Mateo and Burlingame have had some really sweet ADUs added onto them. And with a 2-bedroom home, especially with an attached garage, there's a lot of value that can be added there. But if you can afford a bigger home, you can see that those homes have done a little bit better. Not a negative, but just something to be aware of that I thought was very interesting. So where do we go from here? It's middle 2025. If you're thinking about making a move anytime in the next 3 to 12 months, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. So reach out to me. All of my contact info is below. And I love chatting with nice people like you who might be thinking about making a move. Now let's take a look at some appreciation data over the last 6 months. And we can kind of see here when the stock market started to pop up quite a bit in late 2023, early 2024, we can kind of see what happened with single family homes, townhomes versus condos. So in red, we can see the home price appreciation, and white is townhome appreciation. But it's interesting, you can see the condos basically have dropped, depending on how we slice the data, about 1 to 3%. So if you're looking to buy a condo, just don't bank on it. I would say appreciating a huge amount in the near term. Now, if we take a look at something that I like to track very closely, which is how many homes are for sale on the first of every month. In a second, I'll show you data for new listings every month, but this is just the overall supply. If we take a look here, we can see the number of homes for sale on June 1st was up 34% over last year, which was the highest in the last 3 years. Now you'd say, oh my God, that's crazy. But I already mentioned to you that the last couple of years had the fewest number of sales in the last 25 years. So we're kind of getting back up to more normal levels. But if you're a buyer, this is good news. And if we were to break this down further, if we look at the MSI metric, which is the month's supply of inventory, we can see that for homes under $1 million, that's obviously mostly going to be condos. There's about 4 months of supply. The condo market's in a tough spot right now. For homes between $1 million and $2 million, there's about 2.1 months of supply, 2 to 3 million, 1.9 months, 3 to 5 million, 2.7 months, and then 5 to 10 million, 4.1 months, and then 10 million plus, it'll be about 10 months of supply. That basically means if no new inventory came on the market, how long would it take for that existing inventory to sell? So even 2 or 3 months is like pretty fast and pretty crazy compared to the rest of the country. Here we can see the percentage of listings that are selling and accepting offers. So if we look back between May of 2024 and then October last year, and then compared to now, we're basically seeing about the same amount of properties that are going into contract. So it's super impressive because when we think about what's going on in the world, people are not pausing purchasing real estate here in San Mateo County. It's kind of business as usual. So if we take a look at luxury sales, which is defined as over $5 million, 2021 and 2022, kind of peak COVID, of course, the market was super hot. But you can see over the last few years, when we look at this closely, we had the most number of $5 million sales anytime since basically peak COVID happened this year. So if you're thinking about buying a home that's $5 million or more, you're gonna wanna be patient. And if and when you see something, you're gonna wanna move super fast. But just because you can afford a home at that price point, that it wouldn't be competitive. It's absolutely competitive. I have a listing in Hillsboro, right around that price point, where we had a bunch of offers and it sold way over the asking price and not Not surprising though at all. So where does this mean if we're in the middle half of 2025? So it's pretty typical we start to see some price adjustments this time of the year. A lot of times people say, oh my God, the market's dropping. It's not dropping. It just means that homes that came on at like really ambitious asking prices, well, people are smart. They're not going to pay some crazy number. And so we start to see price adjustments this time of the year. We start to see a fewer percentage of homes sell with multiple offers. So sometimes we can have in the peak spring market, 80% of homes can sell with multiple offers, but we did drop in the last couple months to about 60% of homes. If they're selling with multiple offers, that means they're probably also selling over or way over the asking price. And we still are averaging homes selling 5% over list price. We're seeing condos that are selling about 2.5% below list price. So it's a good opportunity if you're a condo buyer. Definitely be aggressive, go in under, unless it's really underpriced, in which case you need to pay over, but otherwise stay under. And because we've seen so many more homes for sale, we've actually seen the highest number of price adjustments at any point in the last 5+ years. That's a 60% increase over last year. And so I think sellers are kind of adjusting to this new reality of having more supply that they're competing with. So what I'm telling all my sellers, prepare your home as best as possible. Remove all objections that a buyer could have around condition and prep it as best as you can. And that's really what you need to do to stand out. And if you're a buyer, if the home needs a lot of work, be open to it, right? Because if you can be open to it, then you might buy a home that not a lot of other people want, and that could help you get a better price. But where do we go from here in the market for the rest of this year? Typically, inventory and new listings kind of slows down in July and August, and then we see it pick up again. Typically, last week of August through like kind of mid-September, we'll see usually a burst of new listings, and then it'll kind of be consistent up until first week of November, and then we see inventory drop again starting second week of November until first week of December. First week of December, we see it pop a little bit, and then it kind of gets quiet again through the holidays. So all that being said, if you're thinking about buying anytime in the next 6 months, my advice to you would be patient. If and when you see the right home, get ready, have your conditional underwriting approval all done, and then move extremely quickly if and when you see the right house, and be aggressive about it. If you're a seller and you're watching this and you're thinking about selling your home anytime in the next year, love to have a chat with you. But the most important thing is that you prepare your home as best as possible to remove those objections from buyers. And if you're thinking about timing, try to counsel my sellers to avoid putting something on the market in the summer just because a lot of people are traveling. I kind of suggest early September. A lot of families have kids back in school. People are really focused, and that's another good time to consider putting your home on the market. Or it's never too early if you're thinking about selling in 2026 in the spring. I have had a few conversations recently for people who are thinking about doing that, and it's never too early to get that ball rolling. Last thing I'll mention on market timing, the market can kind of shift a little bit quickly. I feel like we're getting into a little bit more of an equilibrium, which is really nice. I've seen a couple houses in the last 2 weeks that I feel like 3 months ago might have flown off the shelves, and now they're just, still getting interest and they're still selling, but it's just not crazy. But I think that's a good thing. Having equilibrium in the market is a positive. Gives people time to pause, to reset, and reassess. So if you're thinking about making a move, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. All my contact info is below. Happy to chat with you about buying, or if you're thinking about selling or not sure about your timing. These are conversations that I typically have very frequently in the middle of the year for planning later in the year or in the following year. And check out my website where you can subscribe to my monthly market updates that I send out. And if you have comments about specific neighborhoods, price ranges, appreciation, pop those into the comments too, and I love responding.